So design system. First, I want to talk about why I choose this topic, and it was 2 reasons. When I chose this topic, it was actually last year, and last year this was a really hot topic. Like most of the designers in the big organizations like Facebook, Airbnb, Salesforce, like even like the big boring ones, we're thinking about that. We're working on design systems, or we're planning to have one. And the other reason is that, and connecting to the conversation that we had before, I feel like in 2016 there were like a lot of signals about design systems. A lot of people were starting to talk about it, to do experiments. Some people start creating plugins on Sketch to have systems or libraries. But I feel like right now, in 2018, now it's a force. Like it went mainstream, all the companies are using one, so I feel like it's nice that we know what it is. The other reason is that I feel like BBVA should have one design system, and it's kind of trying to do that with Coronita. We're trying to have a design language, but I feel like we can push all of this effort a little bit more and have something bigger. So for me, it's really difficult to explain what it is, so I went to this Slack channel that has more than 6,000 designers focusing only on design systems, and it has like 2,000 active users per day. So it's like a really active community, and everyone is just focusing on that. So I asked them, what is a design system? And no one had an idea of how to explain it. So some of the responses were like, it's like Lego blocks, but for making software. Or we're saying that it's like a central database of permitted styles. IKEA like composable UI parts, a library of historically invented wheels, our own custom Twitter bootstrap. This one was really interesting. Musical notes for song composition, but for software. Or a brand reusable pieces of UI. So these were some of the responses that I got. So just to recap, the design system, it's something that is composed of approved parts of a language. I also find this graphic, and I want to talk about what is the difference between a design system and a style guidelines, because we already have that. They have been existed since forever. So on this graphic, I want to pay attention that, well, we cannot see for the video game, but all of this is design systems. And that includes the voice and the tone, content strategy, design principles, design assets, visual design languages, UI kits. But I want to pay extra attention to this incorporation, that it also includes the components written in code, includes dev standards and processes. So every element that you have in design, every design component element, that it could be in a Sketch, in Illustrator, in Word documents, also has another part that is written in code. So every little draw that you have also has one part that is in code, and it already exists, and they match. They have the same name, like designers and developers can share the same language about that. So I also want to explain why design systems are so good and why do we need it to create amazing, because we hear that a lot. Yeah, and I want to give one example that is out of the software, out of the Silicon Valley world, and it's Ferrari, and it's Enzo Ferrari. So in the 50s, no, well, this example is from the 50s, but Enzo Ferrari was not rich. When he started building cars, he didn't have money. Actually, he had to sell his own house to start building cars. And he had to create these cars with a really tight budget, because I explained he didn't have money. And he had to compete and win races against big corporations like Ford. So if you're like a small startup endeavor, how do you win against Ford or something like that? And also like his products, they had to last, they have to stay relevant, they need to be good design, and they need to be beautiful. So when you start building a product, you are not building only the product, you also have to think about building the parts that are going to be part of this product. And the good thing is that these parts can be shared between different products. So even if you're building one car, maybe the wheel or something can be shared by another car. It's more efficient. And also, when you are looking at the little details, you also have to look at the big picture. So you are thinking about how to design the little parts, but also you have to design the assembly line. You have to figure it out how you're going to build so many cars in little time. And so yeah, so you have to think about little parts and the big assembly line. And if you do this pretty well, you can share the parts and also you can share the assembly line between different products. So on the 50s, Ferrari created the Ferrari 250, which actually is a line of cars that consists of 7 racing cars and that were meant to win races, and 13 road cars that were created just to make money. Because Ferrari, he didn't want to sell cars. He only wanted to race, but he needed to sell cars just to have the money and the budget to continue racing. So, and what is really interesting is that all of these cars, they solve a completely different problem. So one car could be made to win a specific race, or one car was meant to be sold to a different public. But they all belong to like the same family, they share the same values, the same rules, the same technology, they're like the same brand. And I think that this is like really interesting. So one car was made to win only the Le Mans race, and he created the cars to win year after year. And then other cars were made to like just to get into a new market, to go into the United States, or to go into Japan, or to go into like certain kind of people. And the other thing is that he was able to create these cars in a matter of months. So he was developing a new car in like 3 months, a Ferrari. So I think it's really impressive. And I want to ask, like, is BBVA, a big organization, is able to create a Ferrari in 3 months and actually develop that and put it on the market? And also, these cars are beautiful, are fast, and even though this was the 60s, they didn't explode as often as other cars. They usually exploded. So yeah, I want to see like these cars. You can see they are obviously Ferraris. They look like Ferraris, but they are like completely different. But they all share the same platform, that is the 250. So he was able to sell cars here in California and use the same platform to win races that lasted 24 hours. So yeah, and all of them solve different problems. And I want to create like a really simplistic parallel between like creating a new car and creating software. So when you're creating a car, you have to first think about the problem that you're going to solve. What are you doing this? What is the experience of driving this car? Of how are you going to maintain this car? So you think about that, and you express that with wireframes. So you put this blueprint, and that's it. Then you have to create between these wireframes and blueprints. You have to create the parts. So you have to build all the different parts and then take all the parts into the assembly line to put like the product together. And I think that there is kind of like a parallel with like designing software, even though they are like completely different. So you have to think about the experience, what is the problem, how it's going to feel to use this product. And you put this into wireframes. Then, when you make sure that this is what you want, you start building the components. So this is kind of like the production. You start choosing the color, you start building like every button, every header, whatever you have to do. And then you go into the production, which this time isn't the developer that has to do that. So he takes all of these parts and actually build them. Yeah, I wanna show what happens when you don't have a good design system. Because you can have one, but if it's not performing, and I want to read this conversation. So one guy said, guys, what version of the calendar date picker should I use? Good question. Do you need that date and time? No, just date. There are a few, I noticed. Okay, I'm going to just make a new one because why not? I love wasting company money. I think I can invent a better one, and see, I love solve problems. So I think this conversation is funny because it really shows that when you don't have a really strong design system, you start creating new things that you don't have to create them. So yeah, and I feel like this is what the VBA, like we do it every time. Like we have to recreate every element from zero when you go to Sketch, We have to create everything from zero, even though another person has done the same element before. And it's even worse for the developers. Every project, they have to start almost from zero and recreate everything and do it over and over again for every single project. I also want to talk about like the maturity of design systems, because design systems is like an ongoing project. It has no ending, you just keep building on this. The maturity number one is that none of the products that you have anything in common. Like every product is completely different. It looks like from a different company, different resources, like everything. The second level, and I get kind of like made this up, so can you feedback? The second level is that some products, they happen to have the same elements or common elements, but it was mostly like a coincidence, kind of, like we happen to have the same background and it's a coincidence. The other one, the third one, is that they, like different products have like a common direction, because when you're working in the same company or in a similar position, you kind of understand what your company is about. So they happen to have the same direction, or maybe they talk about it and they say, like, yeah, we should have clarity, so both products have clarity. But there are no set of rules about that. The fourth one, I think that this is where VBD is that we have a defined set of rules. So someone see and define, this is what we have to do, and put that, but everything has to interpret these rules on their own. Like they just read the document and it's like, okay, I have to do it like that. But it's open to interpretation and implementation. And the last one is that all products and teams, they are helping and they are reusing the same shared components. So this means that everyone in the different teams, they help to build this library and they're reusing this library, and they share components. And if they are not sharing a component, it's because they have like a really good excuse. It's like, it's a conscious decision, like, no, we're not using this one, we're building a new one. But it's completely conscious. And the other thing that I want to do is I want to like, so I want to talk a little bit about like Coronita. I think that we're in a good direction actually. I think that we're moving like pretty fast, we're getting there. We are defining a lot of things regarding color, typography, like elements. We're just getting there. But the way that you use it is difficult. So if you want to get one element from Coronita, first you have to go to Google Drive, which is pretty big, we have a lot of things, and you have to find the right folder. You have to know what you're looking for and then find it. I tried to do that and it took me 15 minutes to find one element. I did the exercise with the illustrations when Brian was here, and he shared that to us. So, no, he wasn't here. He was here one time, yeah. So yeah, it took me 15 minutes. Then I put download and I have to wait 4 minutes because the file was like 600 megabytes. And
0 or 4?
4 minutes. But it's 600 megabytes, and I think that in other offices that don't have faster internet will be more time. Then after I got like the huge folder, I have to look into all of these different folders to find like the right assets. And it took me like another 10 minutes. And a lot of the times when I download a file, I download the wrong one, so I have to start all over again, and this is something that designers have to do every day, so it's a lot of time that we're losing. And after we get the file that we want, we have to modify it, because we have to put it in context. So we have to reshape it, change color, change sizes, and that can take half an hour, a couple of days, I don't know. So this is kind of like the process right now. Now I actually think that Ed shared like this thing that was made using design library in Sketch. And I want to show you how it works. So this is what you can do when you have like a library that is organized. So it's also an illustration. Let me erase that. So in here, I already have a file with a lot of illustrations that are really well organized in a way that everyone can use it. How I use it in Sketch is that I just have to go to symbols and I have to bring the library. It's already here, avatar library. and I just like bring the asset. So I bring it here. So my sketch file is already connected via the web to all the libraries. And now that I have this element, of course I have to modify it because you always have to change something to make it yours. So in here, this file is made, so I can just pick everything. So if I want to, I don't know, change the hair, if I want to like change like the glasses, let's say that I want to, I don't know, this is the expression that I want to change the mouth, change the color of the skin, it's going to be like the Simpsons, I don't know. And I can change everything in here. What this is going to allow me is that it gives me the opportunity to design something like pretty fast and just modify it. But what if, and I want to show you other examples, actually using like user interface components. This is Shopify. So Shopify, they created this design system and they organize all of their elements, and I was able to get this, so you can see that they have all the buttons, like all kind of elements that you want to have. And they are updating these like every week. So because it's connected to the system, you are getting the latest one every week. And the way that you use it is also like really convenient. So if you, let's say that if you, let's pretend I already have the wireframes created, I already thought about the experience, so the production part, I just have to go and call the elements. So if I just want to put like a banner, I just put it in here, and this allows me to change the copy, the title, and all of that. So what this is doing is allowing me to produce really fast, so I can spend like 90% of my time thinking and doing brainstorming and actually figuring out the experience, and when I have to present it and share with developers, it's just faster because we already did all the heavy lifting doing this file. Other thing that I have, and the thing is that because we already have Coronita, we already have all of these elements. The only thing is that we're not really sharing them with like the entire company. So I took some of these elements that we already have and just put them in a library. And in this way, when you want to create something, you just go to head, like let's pretend that I want to get a header, and it's just kind of like designing by drag and dropping. So I have all the elements that someone already designed, and I can just like put it in here. Let's say that I want a call to action, so I can just say I want a primary default button or a secondary, and then just modify it in here or whatever. So yeah, I think that this is like really convenient once you have everything in place. Let me go back.
So my question
Yeah,
for you
sure.
is kind of about, when I was looking at your capability matrix, I was thinking about, there seems to be a point where sometimes, and maybe this is just a bad implementation, but sometimes they get so rigid that then you can't, or they're not complete. So what you just showed is like amazing. It's so cool for anything that's within. There's a icon for a woman that's set up, and it has flowers in her hair that I can just turn on. But if I had a need for a woman with flowers in her hair and there wasn't flowers in the hair as an option, it seems like Coronita is new, so it's no fault of it that it hasn't thought of every use case. We keep running into use cases where there's not a base pattern. Would this scale to this, or can you talk about?
I feel like there are like a couple of things. First, I think that obviously like this is never going to be complete, and this is not going to include all the patterns because like user interface is always evolving. But I feel like if someone created something, it has to be shareable with the rest of the company. I'm pretty sure that like 90% of the things that I have designed in here, someone else have already designed that. So there is no need for me to repeat that. So I feel like for that, first we need to have like a complete, like a really good communication between all the teams and make sure that everyone is contributing. The way that is happening is that one team is in one building producing everything and is sending everything, and they don't hear for feedback. So people is not using that, and people is not helping to build that. So that is like a problem. The other thing has to be really well organized. Everyone has to understand it. This is not an easy task. Yeah, actually, I think that is like really complicated. But the other option is to don't have it, which I think is more complicated, and it's a lot of work that you have to repeat over and over again. So yeah, this has like a lot of limitations, but I feel like, especially I have seen like the evolution in only 2 years. In 2 years it was extremely limited. But right now, even like the softwares are changing, and because they notice that it's been working. And also something that I didn't explain in here is that all of these elements, they have a match in code. So when you send this to a developer, they look at the name and they say, okay, I can find this element and I can just take the code, place it, and change like a couple of things. So it's also saving time for the developers. And I want to show like this example of how Airbnb does that. They are like really sophisticated because they change the software of Sketch to work with this. So they have all the library, they only do the elements once. Obviously they spend a lot of time on every element, and what they do is that they implemented this search. So when you are designing, you just like type the element that you want and place it in here. So they can be in a meeting talking about what they want, and someone is just typing and placing the elements, and everything is there in a way, and everything can be modified in sizes, in color. If you see what's happening on the right, it's just changing the copy of this, and every element is made in a way that you can change the type, the colors, everything. Is like you can really make out of this what you want. You can put like all the icons that you need. Obviously, if there is an icon that doesn't exist on the system, the way to do that is actually you create the icon and then you share it with the library. And once you share it with the library, share it with all the designers and with all the organization. So I wanna like recap on the benefits of this. So having a good design system in place is gonna reduce the inconsistency. It's also gonna reduce the dependency on individuals. And what I mean by this is that like right now, kind of like in BBVA, there's only like a couple of people that is working in Coronita, and they know if you want to make sure that you're doing Coronita right, you have to go to this person. What if this person leaves? We don't have that documentation, so that is going to reduce that risk. Also, you're going to have better prototypes because instead of spending 70% of your time in a sketch, you spend that time brainstorming or talking about it or figure things out, and then the production is just fast. So you have more time to design instead of like rendering and figuring out like the details. Also, like the development is faster and cheaper because like you're reusing all these elements. The code is going to be like pretty light because you're just reusing the elements, so it's going to be less light. And it's also going to be like pretty easy to update the projects because if you are creating a new project and you spend a lot of time on research and you update one element, that element is going to be affected in all the old products. So everything that you have made in the past is going to change. So yeah. The other thing that I want to talk is about like creativity. A lot of people say like, okay, but I can only want to spend time on a sketch and I want to do it my way and I want to focus on that kind of creativity, and I think that this is not taking it away because you can still modify it, you know? It's just that you already have it. If you want to use your time improving that, it's kind of like on you. Like you can do it. It's not denying you that. It's just giving you the option that if you don't want to do that, you don't have to.
Is this the last slide? I want to make sure that you, okay. We didn't derail, lose your momentum there. I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.